series. And this one is kind of the outliers. There's a little bit of everything in this. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 10 in this category. And the first is Coming Home by Rosamunde Pilcher. So the timing of this is very fun. I put that on my favorites, I think 5 years ago, and I'm reading it again. I have not picked it up yet, but I will be picking it up soon, and I can't wait to get back to this. It is just full of delightful, delightful characters who you want to spend a lot of time with, and seeing them go through different trials in their life and take comfort in warm domestic things is just so endearing to me. And I'm very much looking forward to picking this book up again. And the next is A Suitable Boy by Vikram Seth. And here, I have it right here. A Suitable Boy, this chunker. I have a really fond memory of the summer that I read this in particular. I read it with Hillary from Your Robot Friend. She's not actively making booktube videos anymore. And I hope she does again at some point. It was such a lovely experience. We took 3 months to read this. And so we were not usually in sync as we were reading it, but we would leave, Voxer messages occasionally. And at the end of that time, we made Indian food and we did a video chat together. This was before Zoom, and had a delightful time just discussing this amazing book. It is on such a huge, huge scale, where you're following a lot of different characters. Lada is the main character, and it is kind of her mother's journey to find her a suitable boy. There's a lot of moving parts to this, and I just found it so compelling. There are some scenes that are more dealing with the politics of the day. I did have to kind of force myself to get through, but overall it is living in my memory as just an amazing reading experience. And then right underneath that is The Rose Garden by Susanna Kearsley. This started at the beginning of a new chapter in my adult reading life. And that is that as a kid, I read a lot of contemporary books, written very recently. And then as a young adult and an adult, I just mainly was reading classics, and I loved doing that. But then you start to kind of, not run out of classics, but you just sort of kind of lose momentum with that. And Susanna Kearsley is one of the first modern authors that I read that I really, really enjoyed. And I am forever grateful to Bree from Falling for Romance for telling me about Susanna Kearsley. This was my first time slip book, and a time slip is different than time travel. Someone is not setting out to travel in time. They have no control over it, and it is only when they are in certain places. And the book is this character, specifically Eva. It's on the Cornish coast, like a lot of Susanna Kearsley's. Or no, only some of hers. And she is traveling back in time. And the romantic interest in this, does it say his name? Oh, it doesn't. But one of the best of all time. And I just found myself so compelled to keep reading. And I have read a lot of Susanna Kearsley since then. So I would like to do a video ranking her different books. I think that would be fun. Then I'm going to grab my copy of that. Uprooted by Naomi Novik. This was a fun experience because I tried it at one point and DNF'd it. And I know a lot of people really love the UK cover of this, but I really love this because it's made to look like a newspaper cover. I think that's fun, and I think the colors are beautiful. But Olive at a Book Olive kept talking about this book, and I could not get it out of my head, and so I finally said, you know what? I need to try this book again, and I'm really glad that I did. I loved the darker atmosphere to it, and it was very much, it has a slower pace to it, and I really liked that about it. And it takes inspiration from a lot of Eastern European folklore. It's a little bit like Beauty and the Beast. Agnieszka loves her valley home in a quiet village, but the corrupted wood stands on the border, full of malevolent power. Her people rely on the cold-driven wizard, known only as the dragon, to keep the wood's dark forces at bay. But he demands a terrible price for his assistance. Every 10 years, one young woman must be handed over to serve him without question. I found it gripping, and I loved it. Then The Firebird by Susanna Kearsley. This one is my favorite Susanna Kearsley. but it has to be preceded by the Winter Sea, then the Shadowy Horses, and then the Firebird, because it takes the plotline of the past from the Winter Sea, and you find out more about what happened to those characters, and it takes the modern day characters from the Shadowy Horses and has them grown up a couple decades later. And I loved that it traveled to Russia and to Italy, and she just has such a way of writing that makes you incredibly invested in these characters and wanting to know what is going to happen next to them. So I definitely recommend Susanna Kearsley. Then Before Midnight by Cameron Dokey, and this charmed me so much because it is just a really solid bread and butter Cinderella retelling. It has some magical elements in there. It is short and sweet. It is just over 200 pages, but Cameron Dokey shows such skill in writing a really lovely version of Cinderella in such a short span of time. So I love that it's a quick read, but no less delightful because of that. And the next book is Cinders, the Untold Story of Cinderella by Finley. This is another great Cinderella retelling. In my Cinderella Chronicles project, I have found a few favorites, and this is one of them. And I loved that it has the trope of a girl dressing as a boy, and that is the kind of mode that they get to know the handsome hero in. And so they have this great friendship first before they fall in love. And there is jousting, which is fun because I don't read a lot of books that have jousting. And yes, this Cinderella character is just so strong and tenacious, and she's a very admirable heroine. And then Hannah Coulter by Wendell Berry, a really quiet, gentle, thoughtful, beautiful read. Wendell Berry writes kind of rural Kentucky, and Hannah Coulter is these little snippets from Hannah's life, seeing some kind of highlights, a highlights reel of her life, but it's written in such a thoughtful way. You feel like you're kind of sipping iced tea and sitting out on a porch on a summer evening, hearing her tell you all about her life, and it's beautiful. The next one is Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. This could not be more different from Hannah Coulter. This is a YA fantasy, and in this, the element that hooked me, that made me pick it up, is that the books are sentient. And our main character is framed for stealing one of these sentient books that has been kept up in a library. This book was not supposed to leave this library. It has lots of powerful magic in it that should not be put into the hands of just anyone. So this story is her trying to prove herself and figure out who it is that did take her book. And the last one is Christy by Catherine Marshall. I have really been wanting to revisit this story. This book is inspired by the stories that the author Catherine Marshall heard from her mother of her time going to teach in a rural school, and the lessons that she learned while she was there. She was very, very young and impressionable, and she also ends up meeting the love of her life. And it's just a really, really compelling book. Just hearing about people's real struggles that they have. And a lot of the children that attend the school can't even afford shoes. So let alone, any materials. And it's just very compelling. And I loved the balance that it had between the stories that you're hearing from the people in the community, but also Christy's own kind of inner dialogue. And I found it so moving. And that is all of the books in the kind of random favorites category. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I will be back for my last 5 years of favorites video, which is going to be middle grade and nonfiction. So I hope you are having a great day, and I'll be back with another video soon. Bye.